So picture this. You are a brand that's really well known. Everybody knows who you are and what you do. You've got to do something to become even more relevant. You've got to stay part of the conversation. What does it take? Hello, welcome to the CMO Show. I'm Mark Jones. Thanks for joining us. The CMO Show is a podcast brought to you by ImpactInstitute in partnership with our friends at Adobe. Now, if I said Luna Park to you, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I reckon there's a good chance it's fun. It's that big smiley face at the front of the park. What an incredible place that's been a big part of the Sydney landscape for such a long time. Well, my guest today is Michelle Rowling. She is the head of sales and marketing at Luna Park Sydney, and she's here to tell us all about what it's like in her role, what it's like working at Luna Park. She's also going to do a bit of a deep dive on all the programs, the strategies, the ideas that they've got for building out across B2B and B2C. So there's something for everybody in this show. Have a listen. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
What a thrill. Luna Park. How do you end up there?
I am so privileged. I work at one of Australia's amazing icons. I love that when you tell someone you work at Luna Park, they know exactly where you work. It's phenomenal. And
you were telling me that it's great, kudos for your kids at school too, right?
I reckon it's brought them some friendships over the time, definitely. The fact that my kids are proud of where I work, I think is a life goal achieved. They might not realise what I do or, wonder why mum's not at home as much as she could be, but ultimately they are pretty proud that mum works at Luna Park. The
thing that really has been on my mind when I have thought about this interview is for everybody it's a story, And that time when I went, or the memories that it evokes, the stories that are spontaneously told in reaction to the idea of Luna Park. What did it mean to you before you got the job?
So before I got the job, I was actually in the interview, and I still remember the director at the time. He said to me, "Why do you want this job?" And I said, because when I tell my son and I tell my grandfather that I got this job at Luna Park, they will both be impressed and they'll both have the same face. And I still stick by that, and I'm proud of that. And that still happens arguably on a weekly basis when I talk about my role and what I do and the fun that I've had that week. They both react with the same. They're not thinking about the marketing campaigns I've set up and the events we've sold. They're thinking about their memories on the rides, and they're thinking about the last time they went there. Yeah. And that's what I love, that you can pull that out of people.
What was the career path that got you there? What are the sort of roles that you've had before this, and how did they set you up for success?
Honestly, every role that I've had has contributed to the current role that I've got, and I'm proud of the stepping stones it's taken me to get there. So I spent about 7 years at News Corp, and that was quite a while ago, if I'm honest, back when paywalls were being introduced, and, it was an interesting time to be at News, but I absolutely learnt a lot from that whole experience there and had some great leaders. I then went over to a role at Bankstown Sports, so being a large hospitality venue and precinct in Sydney, known far and wide. Everyone's been to Bankstown Sports and has dined at their restaurants and bars, and that definitely gave me not only a love of hospitality but ultimately selling fun. CEO there at the time, he used to say that we sold 3 sins, being gambling, drinking and eating poorly. And, while I agree, I think I used that time in my career to really lean into bringing families into having fun in new and exciting destinations. After my time at Bankstown Sports, I went to an agency, and I was really excited by the challenge there. I think there's not many people that work client side and then head into agency world. That taught me so much. I have a profound admiration for the agencies, especially independent agencies that support large organisations. We command a lot from their time, and ultimately I learnt a lot that I bring into my role now, so I'm forever grateful. And then I literally saw the ad of head of marketing at Luna Park Sydney on LinkedIn and swiped right. I just thought, wow, that would be an amazing role. I was literally putting the kids to bed and thought, yeah, she'll be right. Didn't check my resume and landed an interview. And it was honestly, it's been life-changing. And then about a year ago, I was made head of sales and marketing, so bring the two functions together.
What do you love about this work?
I think it's that nostalgia piece, and ultimately that everyone remembers coming to Luna Park. You can't have too much fun at Luna Park, and there's always a reason to come back. So arguably, whether you're there for a ticketed experience as a normal customer coming in on the weekend with your family, or you're there for a large-scale event, it's an event to remember. It's something that you'll always remember. I'm basically selling memories and milestones.
Yeah. Now, big picture of Luna Park. Describe what it's like as a company, as a business. What's going on for it at the moment? There's obviously been a sale, and people are thinking about, the future. I know that that's not the biggest thing in the world, but I'm just interested to get a sense of, the company and what it's like.
Well, the biggest thing happening for Luna Park at the moment is that it is our 90th year. So I think the fact that we're an Art Deco heritage listed amusement park, one of the rarest in the world, and it's really important for us to pay homage and respect to that history that we have. So making sure that that history can sit with Sydney-siders and something that all Sydney-siders can be proud of, and ultimately we can use that to bring more guests to us. Again, whether it's through ticketed experiences or through events, it's leaning into that history in our 90-year celebration.
Describe the experience of being offered the sales role as well. I mean, obviously, congrats, because they thought, well, she can do this. But what was that like for you, and having to then think about a broader remit?
I was definitely up for the challenge. I definitely will admit that while I had hospitality marketing experience, have I, waited tables in a function? No. Have I, is sales something that really enthralls me? Yes and no. It was definitely a new experience and a new role. I have definitely leaned into the team that I have and the skills that they have, and I stand by my role is not to actually be the head of sales. My role is to bring out the best of the salespeople within my team and make sure that they're working in tandem with the event managers that essentially deliver the guest experience. So whether it's marketing or sales, it's all about guest experience. Yeah,
that's great. It's been an enduring theme on the CMO show, looking at the interconnect between sales and marketing. In fact, I remember a CMO telling me quite some time ago was that marketing fills the pond with fish, and sales hooks them out. And I quite liked that way of thinking about it. How do you think about the strategies for each? How do you make sure there's a nice handoff between the messages that you're using in marketing and the sales, for example?
So I guess from a marketing perspective, people are there for fun. They've made the decision to be there themselves. They're bringing their family and friends along. It's definitely a much easier, it's the Instagram reel. It's the content that they can create when they're there. It's a really easy thing for us to market Luna Park Sydney. Like, how hard is it to sell tickets to Luna Park every school holidays? It's easy. It's how we market the off-peaks that is where I get the most excitement and where I see the most, synergies between marketing and sales is how can you bring people there on a rainy day? How can you bring people there when you're competing with other things like going to the cinemas on a rainy day? So that's where I see a lot of excitement between the marketing and sales teams. And from a sales perspective, I think it's actually marketing the events we do incredibly well so that it brings more events to us. There's no better marketing than word of mouth, and the only way we're going to achieve that is if we empower the sales and functions teams to absolutely deliver their best.
I wanted to say that for me the biggest shift was when you didn't have to buy a ticket at the gate to get in. That was a huge shift in how we thought about the park. So you come in and then you buy on that basis.
Oh, I still remember the radio and TV commercials as a child going, Mum, Luna Park's free. Like, let's go. Why wouldn't we go? Yeah.
In most sales conversations, if something's not selling, you make it cheaper, people go, or they'll buy it. Are there any other levers that you think about in terms of maybe packaging up value, or where you think you might get more sales in the future? Is there sort of anything along those lines?
Ultimately, I think the best thing about Luna Park in terms of sales and tickets is that we have kept the same prices since 2021. Since COVID, we have always been able to offer tickets from $34. So, of course, there's dynamic pricing and different constraints and opportunities that make that ticket price change. But ultimately, we can work with our guests to make sure that Luna Park is accessible for all. So we're definitely making sure that price provisions, we're not restricting people from coming to Luna Park, and that will get them an unlimited rides pass. We've also, in recent years, made effort to create new products. So we've bundled experiences with ride passes. We've also created new tickets, so a 1 and 2 ride pass, which is eligible on certain days for certain rides. So it's definitely not the all-you-can-eat Luna Park experience, but it's enough for the tourists to have a great time. It's enough for the older person or the stay-at-home mum to come in and have a great time on the Ferris wheel.
Yeah. What are the segments or the audiences that you typically cater for when you think about the sales and marketing? So you mentioned tourists. Families is another one.
Yeah, of course. Look, families is our bread and butter, and ultimately there's no denying that. I think kids that are, the average age of 10 to 13, they are just having a while of a time at Luna Park, and they're really proud to be there with their mum and dad. It's a great family day out. And I think in that pre-teen era, I can relate. You want to do as much as you can with your kids before they stop talking to you. So what better way than for everyone to enjoy a day at Luna Park? So there's definitely that market there. We do see a lot of grandparents and older people coming in during the week as well as tourists.
Right?
And mums and bubs on the Ferris wheel. I think the Ferris wheel and the carousel are completely accessible. So whether you're if going on a thrill ride is not something you can muster, we still have something for you. So definitely all areas.
What would you say then you've learnt about bringing those two people, and going back to that comment about leadership, and if you were to sit down with one of your peers in a different sector, what would you say you've learnt about bringing those two together in your role?
Both are just as equal as one another, and both are ultimately delivering value to guests. So while the guests might be different, we're talking B2B, B2C, ultimately the end game is exactly the same. And I think we have to acknowledge that we're not competing with anyone or any place or anything. We're competing with entertainment and hospitality. So I think in this day and age, if you can be entertained or have a hospitable experience somewhere else, I'm competing for your time and your share of wallet.
Was that something you spent a lot of time kind of reflecting on from a strategic point when you joined the organisation?
Definitely. I think you don't, there's, I guess, obstacles to get to Luna Park. And what I mean by that is commanding time and attention from your family and friends that you'd like to go with. Physically getting there, it is a big day out, and going out's expensive. So to overcome those challenges, how are we going to do that in a marketing and a sales environment? And it's about showing up for the guest and making sure that we have the best experience. So any frustrations or hurdles that they've overcome to actually get there, all is lost when they're, on the rotor or having a great time on the dipper. Every woe in their life is gone for that millisecond, and they're creating a great time at Luna Park.
That's actually a really good point, actually, which is the distraction, or what we enjoy about getting lost in a movie, for example. Now, from a campaign point of view, programs and plans, what's on the radar? What fun stuff are you working on?
We've got our 90th year, as I've mentioned. So there's quite a celebration in the works. For towards the end of the year, we'll be celebrating that quite rigorously. So our 90th birthday is the 4th of October. So we're looking forward to that. We have just announced our new Stranger Things experience. So that's in partnership with Netflix. That's off the back of an absolute sellout Squid Game experience that we launched in our Big Top.
Partnerships.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Huge deal. So that
tell me how that came about.
Netflix is a team effort from our wider leadership team. So I think that's actually something that we should all be really proud of, is that we've all worked together to bring that to Luna Park and ultimately bring that to Sydney and the Southern Hemisphere. There's no one else bringing these experiences down under. And Netflix is a huge IP, everyone knows. And if they haven't heard of Squid Game or Stranger Things, they're going to go and watch it now because they want to be a part of it before it comes to Luna Park. So it's amazing. Like I had a call with the US this morning, like working for a Sydney icon is opening up global communication. It's pretty awesome.
I mean, they want to talk to you.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and we've done really, really well together. I think we've done them proud. It's the highest rated experience, Squid Game experience globally.
I have to ask, does anyone die?
No. It's all the fun and nothing like it. You challenge the front man, you challenge your mates, everyone leaves smiling, everyone leaves accounted for.
How does it work? What actually happens in the experience?
So the experience is being curated by some of Sydney's leading creative minds.
Yeah.
So that's something that Squid Game in particular is really interesting, is that it's not just a experience you can get over in another part of the world. It has been New York, it has been in Sao Paulo, but we've actually recreated the experience, obviously with close watch from Netflix. They approve absolutely everything everything that goes in. So there's games from the actual series. I don't want to spoil it too much for people that haven't been, but you move through the experience, going through those games and challenges, essentially collecting tokens, and then challenge the front man at the end. It gets young adults into Luna Park. It's attracting corporates. It's attracting tourists. It's attracting uni students. It's attracting a broad range of people who might not necessarily be coming to Luna Park for a roller coaster. They're coming there because of the Squid Game experience or the IP and the opportunity that's brought to the park, which has definitely diversified our audience.
Yeah, and I heard the corporate reference there, which means that you're getting some of those team building day dollars.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Team building days, social engagements.
Yeah.
We've seen them all come through. We had Sydney FC go through the other week as a team building experience. So yeah, it's still attracting a lot of ticket sales, which is really great.
They weren't tempted to play soccer in the middle of it all?
No, they had a great time. They had a really, really great time.
What are you learning about those sorts of partnerships? You know, what's the aha you've had in terms of how do you make them successful?
I think it's definitely the collaboration and the coordination, and it's definitely taught me a lot about working with IP. In previous roles, I haven't had that opportunity and haven't had that exposure.
No.
So it's a lot more than brand integrity, you know, like especially with Stranger Things, we're accountable to the Duffer Brothers. Like we have to make sure that we do their experience well. So we're working really, really hard with the Netflix team to make sure that we can do that. And ultimately, it's an incredible team of creatives that we've got here working for us to bring things to life.
And what impact did it have in terms of reach and scale? Because obviously when you combine two brands like this, you double or triple your reach.
Well, that's the whole idea. So previously to these experiences coming to Luna Park Sydney, we were operating an incredible amusement park with arguably some underutilised spaces, you know, adjacent. And those spaces were used for some phenomenal events, some phenomenal experiences that people talk fondly of conferences and things that they've had at Luna Park.
Yep.
And by all means, they're still there, but it's making sure that we can maximise the space use throughout, day and night. So that's what those experiences are bringing to us.
Now, is it fair to say that as all of this partnership work evolves, you're actually playing in B2B and B2C spaces at the same time?
Simultaneously, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's that like?
It's actually really interesting because ultimately we need to service both types of guests. And the demand, it's sort of a race to the finish, right? Because those sessions, they've got a limited capacity. So if a corporate books one out, it's booked one out and that closes it off for the consumers. So it is a tricky one to navigate, and we do try and balance that so that everyone can sort of have a fair opportunity to come to those experiences.
Yeah, that's amazing. So good. What are you doing to actually make all of this go from a tech point of view? You mentioned you've got a small, nimble team.
Yes.
How does the whole thing work?
Look, so since arriving at Luna Park 3.5 years ago, we have changed our tech stack a lot in my time there, which has been a really great process to work on from the ground up. So one I will call out is we've completely rebuilt our website. We're now an Adobe Experience Manager.
Nice.
So that has definitely helped us in terms of getting to know our customer more and also being as nimble and responsive as we can to guest needs. We've still got a way to go on there, and we're working with Adobe very closely to maximise the output, which is really great.
So cool. Obligatory AI question.
Yes.
What do you reckon? Do you like how general that question was?
Yeah, no, it's true.
There's like 100 things you could say about it. I just over to you.
What do you think? I figured it was coming.
Yeah.
So AI, I'm to be honest, I don't think it's here to streamline marketing or take marketing jobs. I think it's here to optimize marketing. I think it's here to optimize sales. And I think that if we use it right, it will be great for us. What I think we as an industry should be doing is funneling our fears and frustrations into empowering our brand, because I don't think that any brand will survive the next phase of AI unless they have the brand integrity and the brand advocacy from customers. And the reason I say that is every AI tool we are receiving, our customers are receiving too. So if you can't cut through those algorithms by being advocated for and the first to mind, you're not going to survive.
Can you give me an example of what that might look like?
So I guess what I'm talking to is how easy AI makes transacting.
Yeah.
So I'm planning a holiday. I'm planning a day out with friends. I don't know where to start. Like, this is beyond Google on steroids. This is stuff we've never seen before.
Yeah.
So what's really exciting is that every guest we might not have even met yet is going to be just as empowered as us to find us and to make a decision about how they're going to spend their dollar. And I think we need to be making sure that we are front of mind and being advocated for by our guests so that we can punch through the algorithms. There's no other way.
We're now in a more is more era, as I call it, which is more content, more personalised content at scale, which in turn is what's driving search results out of AI engines, because they kind of rank and rely on volume.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
But this is like a giant mindset shift for marketing.
Like, if you're not being talked about, if you're not being reviewed, if you're not being thought of by a customer, you're not going to be front and centre when AI pulls up, what should I do in Sydney this weekend? You know, or how do I spend my last $100? Like, ultimately, I think that's where we need to be channeling our efforts and energy, is making sure that our brand will cut through.
So isn't that interesting? It means brand awareness activities that we might have previously sort of thought about in a less direct influence on sales mindset actually become quite strategic.
Yeah. I mean, I was at a conference just recently and I can't remember what the guy said, but I was in awe of how he literally, AI plan a holiday, blah, 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 holiday comes out.
Right.
Now book it. And I was like, they didn't have to touch a button.
Right.
So if Luna Park wasn't listed just there, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to do?
Well, what are you going to do? And by the way, that's agentic AI too. That's the jargon there. But yeah, what are you going to do?
We're going to make sure that we're breathing, walking, talking Luna Park as being the latest and greatest experience destination, globally renowned, 90 years young.
Amazing. I love that. That's sharp and clear. Have you worked on that? Is that?
Have I worked?
You sounded like you rehearsed that. That was
great.
That just sort of came straight out like, you know.
It's not really here. I'm being honest. It's not here.
Not in your notes. So you should rewind that one and write it down. I think that's really cool. So 90 years young I quite like. What about the scale of content, again, is still really important. We want people to be really socialising this.
Yeah.
Social media is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah. I think even in my short time at Luna Park, even something as simple as the guest inquiries for can I bring a GoPro on your rides?
Yeah.
You know, before it was, you know, every week, every month you get a couple of inquiries. Now it's every weekend. We're getting tagged in people's content. We're getting tagged in people's streams. You know, 1 minute they've got POV of a roller coaster, next minute they're challenging the front man. So the variety in what the content that people are able to create has just been phenomenal. And I think the usability and reshareability for us, the quality is second to none. There's been content we've reshared that's user-generated content that, heck, I can't produce it like that. Like, they've done a bloody good job.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of amazing tech out there you can use to do this stuff, right?
Yeah, and they're the ones that are advocating for us. And we've got some leading influencers begging to come back to us. And our PR agency saying, how did you land them? And we're like, they're asking to come to us. They just do it for tickets. Like,
they're doing it for tickets, that's it. Which is a nice change for in the influencing space, I think.
Yeah.
Instead of paying them so much. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I am really quite intrigued by this. How much content do you think you're going to need to make?
We need to be making content every single day.
Yeah.
And we do. And we build a bank of it. And we engage with some of the great people that have created and shared content with us. We're bold. We reach out and ask, have you got any more? I think it's about sourcing content from every angle and every opportunity that we have.
Yep.
And I think it's that breadth of content as well. So showing our experiences, showing our park and showing our events in the best light. And ultimately, the person who booked the event is the one that's going to showcase it the best. Geely Cars just did their launch in our big top, and the content they created was absolutely phenomenal. It was a really proud moment where we just click share on LinkedIn.
Imagine them paying you to make content that then spreads your brand around the place.
Oh, no comment.
Maybe we should edit that bit out, but that's what came to mind.
It's true, right? People book events, people buy tickets, and then help us market it.
Yeah, look, I think you're making a whole bunch of our listeners really upset right now. And they're like, how can I do that? That could be the takeaway right there. The fun thing about this is when you think about your content and becoming more of a publishing house, I wonder what is a great story from your point of view? What really makes a great story?
I think it's those intergenerational ones that we see. So we've had stories where you can see entire multi-generational families coming to Luna Park and having an incredible day. But the ones that really strike a chord with me is when you've got user-generated content of a child growing up with Luna Park. So they're sending in photos over time. We just opened our Wild Mouse ride, and that was a relaunch for heritage listed roller coaster.
Oh, nice.
And we called out for content. And that roller coaster had been there since the 60s. So we had people talking about their journeys and their experiences and their memories of riding the Wild Mouse and why they wanted to bring their families back.
So it's the heartstrings.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. They're the best stories.
That's amazing. What's on the radar? Obviously, there's opportunities and there could be, I don't know, threats. Do people still go to Luna Park in the winter?
Yeah, look, we are very seasonal, but people do come to Luna Park in the winter. I even think these coming April school holidays, are you going to the Easter show or are you going to Luna Park? You've got to do one. So we are definitely throughout the year peaks and troughs, but I think what's ahead for us is making sure that we can spread our audience and bring people in our off-peak. I think that's really, really important for us and something we're achieving very, very well.
Well, you'll also be flat out right through till the big day in October, right?
Of course, yeah.
So can you give us a sense of the sort of campaign elements you're planning to roll out?
I think the main thing that I'd like to talk to is that it will be bringing back the history of Luna Park Sydney and reminding Sydney-siders and other interested parties that ultimately we are 90 years young and we've been there since 1935.
Yeah.
So we're part of the social and cultural fabric of Sydney.
Yeah.
And I think what's important is the reason that our grandparents went to Luna Park back in the 30s was to escape the woes of life. You know, in the Great Depression, there was a big smiling face on the side of the harbour. And here we are in life's challenges and struggles that we have even today, coming to Luna Park for the exact same reasons. So I think it's about making sure that we can remind people of that. And even in these testing times, cost of living, etc., we are worth saving for, we are worth your last dollar, and ultimately you can't create those memories any other way.
Michelle, you're making me want to go to Luna Park.
Lucky you know the right person.
And I'm saying that like I'm cranky, but I'm really not. Thank you so much for inspiring me, for sharing a really interesting perspective on the intersection of marketing and sales and storytelling and fun. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Michelle Rowling, again, an absolute pleasure to have you on the CMO Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I really hope you enjoyed the interview. A little takeaway thought from me is it's a good opportunity to reflect on this conversation by thinking about the experience that's created by or through your brand. You know, what does it feel like to use your product or to be part of the service offering? You know, what is it like to work with the people at your company? How well do you understand what that is? It's obviously pretty simple with Luna Park. It's fun, and really understanding what that fun means in that context. I wonder what the emotion might be for you and how you make sure that everybody clearly understands what that is and how to best bring that to life. So that's my parting thought from the interview, and I'm sure you've got lots of other big ideas as well. I want to thank you for being part of the show, for listening, and please do share the episode with anyone that you think would really enjoy this. Make sure you like and subscribe on all the usual channels. And that is it from us today. The CMO Show is a podcast brought to you by ImpactInstitute in partnership with Adobe. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. The CMO Show is produced by ImpactInstitute in partnership with Adobe. ImpactInstitute is a professional services firm for purpose-led organisations. Our unique blend of impact consulting, brand storytelling and event services help our clients create meaningful change. Our executive producer is Ryan Newman, our producer is Pamela Obeid, and the show is engineered by Ed Chang and Daniel Ma. And a quick shout out to Adobe Experience Cloud, which gives digital businesses everything they need to design and deliver great customer experiences. Visit business.adobe.com to learn how Adobe can help transform your business.